So how is that happening with me?
We don't know. I don't know your personal case.
So you just said it's probably happening with me, but you don't know.
But the bank, they're taking a principled decision about the risks that they're running.
You have no idea how.
I do because I understand banking regulations. It's there in black and white. They have to follow their own regulations.
This is such an interesting transformation that's happened to people like you on the left.
People
the left,
like me.
The left used to be about protecting the ordinary person from big corporations and big government and all of this stuff. That's what you used to believe in. And here you are, you're sitting and defending a banking corporation.
I'm defending
having no idea
law.
Why they made the decisions
I'm defending
that they made.
International banking regulation and law.
Well, it's a great cause.
That is there to protect you and me from scammers and money launderers.
I can just tell you, I don't feel very protected right now.
Let's hear from our politically exposed persons.
But I think the important point here is that this isn't just happening to the so-called exposed people. You made the point this is happening to a lot of people on very low incomes, and that's one of the points I've been keen to emphasize throughout this whole thing. My podcast has 1 million subscribers across different platforms. I can go out and get attention for this in the media. So can Nigel Farage. If you're someone who earns 20 grand and you said the wrong thing somewhere that someone didn't like and they closed your account, what are you going to do?
That wasn't the point I was making.
My point is, I think it's very unwise and short-termist for people to say, well, as long as it's happening to Nigel Farage, this is okay. And I would remind you, whatever you personally may feel about Nigel Farage, I voted Remain in the Brexit referendum. Nigel Farage represents a hell of a lot of people in this country, and he represents
so many people that he's never been elected.
There's not really.
So many people love him that he's never won.
He represents a hell of a lot more people than you, Paul.
Let them stand for Parliament.
Not that I particularly share his views.
Let them stand for Parliament.
That isn't my point. My point is, this is not about some wacko on the far end of the political spectrum having their bank account closed. This is someone who has a mainstream view in this country, and this is completely unacceptable to be happening to someone.
Is there a problem there?
Well, you said it yourself in your introduction that it's all about the context, and I'm afraid there's a very large number of people commenting on this story who haven't seen Jerry Sadowitz or haven't seen his show. And it's a very interesting thing that seems to be applied only and exclusively to comedy. Like if you go to watch Macbeth with your family, you don't come back going, oh, I saw a play and then this guy went mental and stabbed his friend. You go, it's a performance, it's a theatrical performance. And the character of Macbeth and all the other characters in that piece are characters, theatrical characters, in exactly the same way that Jerry Sadowitz's act is a comedic character. And so what a character may do is completely different.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, I've seen Jerry Sadowitz live in the last couple of years. I went to see him myself. He is very offensive. He is very challenging, but he's not an obvious character. It's not like Steve Coogan playing Alan Partridge. He comes on and maintains this act as he has done right through his entire career. And it's not obvious necessarily what he's doing and how he's doing it. But let me ask you again my initial question.
To whom?
Is well, necessarily to everybody in the audience. But let me just go back to my first question. Is it ever okay then to use overtly racist, sexist, homophobic language in a comedy show?
Well, as I explained, if there is a character that is doing a performance, then they may be able to do things that a person expressing their opinions may not. This is one of the problems with what the Pleasance has done in this case. Instead of saying we don't like his material, what they actually said, if you go and read the statement, is we do not agree with some of the opinions Jerry Sadowitz expressed, as if a comedy character is the same as a person's opinions. And this is the problem. We seem to have forgotten that, yes, some words are very offensive, but he didn't say them on the BBC One Scotland show. He said them in the context of a very specific comedy performance. I strongly, by the way, disagree with you that it's not obvious that this is a character. I remind you, this is a man who exposes himself on stage as part of his act and has been doing this for a very long time. Going to a Jerry Sadowitz show and being offended is like a vegan going to a steak restaurant and being horrified that there's dead animals on the table. It's ridiculous.
So what?
Well, it's not something that concerns me. I've been talking and writing about this for many years now. The comedy industry is going to be destroyed by this process because what will happen is people like me and many others who want to do challenging things and push the boundaries, they're going to go online, and then you're not going to have the stand-ups tour in the country in anything like the same way. It would also mean over time that the Edinburgh Festival becomes less appealing and fewer people will come and perform there and fewer people come and watch shows there. We have seen only in recent years the cancellation cancellation of the MASH report, the cancellation of Mock the Week. I'm told that Live at the Apollo is next. This culture of censorship and restriction is destroying comedy, and it will destroy the TV comedy that many millions of people have been enjoying for years, as it already has done with other shows. And this process will continue.
Yeah, just speaking from a personal experience, as I said, I went to see him a couple of years ago in Konstantin. One thing that I found actually quite troubling that night was I sensed that quite a lot of people in the audience were there so they could laugh at a bit of racism, because they don't get the chance all that often. Does that trouble you?
If I were a mind reader like you, it would trouble me. I have no idea why the people were enjoying his show. I have more faith in human beings than perhaps you do. I believe that people are able to understand irony and very clever comedy that Jerry Sadowitz does.
Well, as you correctly point out, I was there, you weren't. I was watching what was going on around me and trying to assess who thought what about it. But listen, it was fascinating. Listen, by watching people watching their body language and listening to them around the venue.
You can tell what someone thinks.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying I knew what they were thinking. I'm just saying it struck me that might have been the case.
No, you did say you knew what they were thinking.
No,
you said exactly that. You said that you knew that.
I said I was concerned they might have been. But listen, we are out of time, and it's been fascinating to hear your opinions this evening. Konstantin, thank you very much indeed for being with us this evening.
Well, folks, sorry about that. You got to see my big old face in the as it was there, and you saw my expressions as Konstantin just absolutely, basically, bitch slapped this guy from BBC Scotland 1 or whatever studios. You know, this obviously from the way he was asking his questions and the progressive nature of Scotland. And, you know, the things that these guys are, I mean, Scotland, talk about being liberal, progressive. It's amazing. And he just literally triggered this guy, you know, with everything, just like he triggered the guy, you know, with the banking thing. And in terms of that, you know, that guy would just twist it into a pretzel, basically. You could just see his body language when Konstantin was talking to him about, hey, I have an avenue, I have a platform. I can get on, you know, social media and basically, you know, cry out and say, hey, this is happening, take a look at it. But what about the guy that doesn't have the means to go out on a platform and complain or to say, hey, this is happening to me? And so this is what happens, folks. It's the conservatives that are the ones that are 99% of the time being attacked. 99% are being, you know, given a rectal examination to basically, you know, just mess with their lives, to cancel them, to make them lose their jobs, lose their livelihood, only because they have an opinion. And we always thought that it was the other side, the leftists, the progressive that talk about diversity. They do when it comes to diversity of color. All right? When it comes to diversity of gender, diversity of sex, diversity of anything else, but no, not diversity of opinion, not diversity of thought. And especially if that diversity of thought or diversity of opinion comes from people of color, minorities, who aren't checking the right box. They're not liberals or progressives or leftists, which the leftists, progressives, and liberals and socialist Marxists say that you should be, because the only people that shouldn't be on the left are elderly white men, and in some cases, elderly white women as well. But they haven't gotten to that point yet. They will, though. They'll soon do it. When white women and those ones that do vote Republican or conservative, oh, they're targeted just as well. But in comedy, getting back to this thing here, I mean, this is just amazing that they're shutting down comedy clubs. They're canceling these comedians who, let's not even use the word edgy. They're beyond edgy. You might look at that and go, oh my God, I can't believe he actually said that. or he did that. But to basically say that that is now racist, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, Christianphobic, Jewish-phobic, that's just going beyond the pale. And it was just great the way that Konstantin Kisin just literally, velvet glove, velvet glove, velvet glove, this anchor. And they said, how do you know what they're thinking? I went to that club and I saw him a few years ago. And I could tell that there were racist people in the audience, and they were laughing because now they got a chance to laugh at the racism, but not everybody know that they were racist, except me. I know, I've got radar, which is racist radar. Not gaydar, which is gay radar, but radar. That's what this guy is basically trying to say. And the lady next to him, I love her accent. Scotland. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. If you found our content worth watching, let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Are you on the side where comedians should be able to do what they want, push the boundaries, and not be labeled no matter what? Or are you one of those on the left that says, no freedom of expression, no freedom of speech for comedians? They don't deserve that. They shouldn't be said.